There is something fascinating about looking at a city from above. From the street, a city can feel enormous. Buildings tower over us, traffic moves around us, and every road seems to lead somewhere important. We walk through it feeling like a small part of something much larger. But change the altitude, and suddenly the same city begins to tell a different story. Look at the skyscrapers in this photograph. They rise above everything around them, reaching toward the sky. Every one of them represents an act of human ambition. We don't simply accept the landscape that nature gives us. We reshape it. We build roads, bridges, railways, neighborhoods, and towers. We build upward because something inside us refuses to remain where we are. The skyline is, in a way, ambition made visible. But then look a little closer. Somewhere inside these enormous buildings are thousands of people. They are working, worrying, planning, making money, losing money, falling in love, raising families, pursuing dreams, and dealing with problems that may feel enormous to them in that moment. And yet, from this height, we cannot see a single one of their individual stories. That is a humbling thought. We spend so much of our lives inside our own problems that they can begin to feel like the entire universe. A difficult day becomes a difficult life. A career setback feels like a permanent failure. A missed opportunity feels like the end of the road. But sometimes what we need is not a solution. Sometimes we simply need perspective. Because perspective changes the size of things. There is another detail in this photograph that I find even more interesting. Look at the river. Almost everything around it is organized. The streets are straight. The buildings form rectangles. The railway lines follow deliberate paths. We love geometry because geometry gives us the feeling that we are in control. But the river doesn't follow our geometry. It bends. It moves around obstacles. It takes the path that the landscape allows. It doesn't fight every turn simply because the turn wasn't part of the original plan. Perhaps life is much the same. We make plans. We imagine where our careers will take us, what our families will look like, how much money we will have, what we will accomplish, and where we will be 10 or 20 years from now. And then life introduces a bend. Something changes. A door closes. Another unexpectedly opens. A dream takes longer than we imagined. A person enters our life. Someone leaves it. The road we thought would be straight suddenly isn't. Maybe wisdom isn't learning how to make life follow our geometry. Maybe wisdom is learning how to navigate the bends. And look at the buildings themselves. The old exists beside the new. Brick structures stand beside glass towers. History sits beneath modern ambition. The city doesn't completely erase what came before. It builds upon it. Perhaps we are like that too. We don't really leave our earlier selves behind. The child we once were is still somewhere inside us. The inexperienced professional is still part of the experienced one. Our mistakes, victories, disappointments, and discoveries become layers in the architecture of who we are. We are cities too. And perhaps that is the deeper message of this photograph. It was taken from above. At street level, Chicago feels enormous and complicated. From here, it becomes almost understandable. The same buildings, the same river, the same roads, but a completely different perception. Maybe that is what philosophy does. It doesn't necessarily change our life. It changes the altitude from which we look at our life. When we are standing inside a problem, it can occupy our entire field of vision. But when we step back, we begin to see the larger landscape. A career disappointment becomes one chapter. A financial struggle becomes one phase. A difficult relationship becomes one part of a much longer story. Even an uncertain decade can become, from a greater distance, just one small section of the landscape. So perhaps, when life feels overwhelming, we don't always need to run away from it. Perhaps we simply need to rise above it for a moment. Not to escape life, but to see it clearly.